So I'm going to show you how to use the Texas Instrument TI-30XIIS for our class. We're going to mostly do fractions, but we're also going to do exponents, parentheses, square roots, things like that. But just today I'm going to show you how to use it for things that we have that involve fractions. And the key that is going to be really important to us is right here, this A, B over C button. It's representing like 3 1/5, 5 4/3, whatever, you know, it's in a fraction form. And then the other buttons that we're going to use that maybe you're not familiar with is this second button up here. And notice it's green, and on this particular calculator it's green because all the writing is green on here. You might have a different color calculator, and this button could be blue. And you'll notice that the writing that's above the keys is in that same color. Or some other color, it really doesn't matter. But this button right here, it is like the shift button on your normal keyboard for your computer. Where, you know, like if you want to type the @ symbol on your computer, you have to hit shift and then the number 2, because above the number 2 is the @ symbol. Or if you need something else on your keyboard that's above a key, you hit shift. So this button, even on some calculators, not this particular version of a calculator, but on some calculators this button would say shift instead of second. But it's the same idea. It's like find the second feature of the button. The other thing that I want to point out is this PRB button, which we're not going to do anything with the concept of PRB probabilities. We're not going to, this key isn't important to us. It's actually what's above the key that is important to us. It says F to D, which means from fraction to decimal or decimal to fraction. It'll just automatically convert things for us. And then above our fraction line button, we also see in green, we see mixed number option, A, B over C, and then we see D over C or D over E, because you can, you know how you can change from like 2 1/5, you can turn that into just the fraction only with no mixed numbers. The calculator will change that over as well for us. The calculator will find the common denominator. It'll do all of the things, all those little tricks that we try and teach you how to manually do with fractions. It will take care of all of that work. You just have to know how to put it into the calculator. Just enter the problem in and hit enter, and boom, you'll have your answer. And so I want to show you a variety of examples how we do this. And we're going to start with how to reduce a fraction. So, or simplify. Some people use the word simplify or to reduce. It means the same thing. So to simplify or reduce a fraction, if we start with 112 over 120. So what we're going to do is put that number in here. We're going to make sure it's turned on. That's the thing I always forget. And then I'm going to put in 112 because that was the top number. I don't know if it's, there it is. Okay, 112. And then the fraction line is formed when we push that A, B over C button. That's your fraction line. So when you push it, watch what happens. There it is. Now, it's a little backwards L. It doesn't do the fraction line like we usually write it, but that's what that's representing. It's a fraction line. And then I'm going to put 120 in there. So I can find my keyboard with the camera. Okay, so now I have 112 over 120. I've put it in the way that the problem was given to me, and all I have to do is hit enter, and the calculator will always give you the most simplified version of that fraction. So I hit enter, and lo and behold, the fraction that means the same thing as 112 over 120 is 14 over 15. So all I did was put those numbers in, and I used this A, B over C button as the fraction line. And I hit enter. So those were the steps that I used. I put 112 in, A, B over C, then 120, and then enter. So we're going to put another one in there. This time it's going to be top heavy. We have 64 over 24. So we're going to do that one just exactly the same way as what we did before. So 64 fraction line 24 and enter. And notice it gives me this answer. It says 2u 2/3, and the u means whole units. 2 whole numbers, 2 whole units, and 2/3. So it's 2 and 2/3 is the answer. 64 over 24 is the same as 2 and 2/3. And if you want to see that written down, the steps, I put 64 fraction line 24 equals, and there it gave me the answer. Now, let's say we want to change our fraction from 3 1/4 to just the fraction form, not a mixed number. This is a mixed number because it has a whole number and a fraction together. What would this be if it was in the version that was just a top-heavy fraction? And so on our calculator, we're going to put that 3 1/4 in there, and it's kind of strange how we put it in, so I want to show you this. We're going to use this fraction line even next to the whole number, so it's going to be 3 fraction line 1 fraction line, and then what was our number? I forgot. 1/4. Okay, and then 4. So I want you to see what this looks like. It looks kind of odd to us because we're not used to having a fraction line between the whole number and then this fraction part. But the calculator knows that if you have 2 fraction lines in it, that the first number is the whole number. So it's a mixed number. And you could even push enter and it would show you 3u and then 1/4. In fact, I'll do that so you can see, just like it looked a moment ago when we did that other one. See, it knows that it's 3 whole units and 1/4. Now, if I want to change that, we have right above our fraction line button, we have to go from mixed number to fraction only. And it's in green, so we're going to push our second button and then our fraction line because it's getting that second feature of that key. And it's asking me up here, it's saying, do you want to go from mixed number to fraction or vice versa? And I do, so I'm going to hit enter. And it comes up with, oh, that fraction is the same as 13 over 4. That's the fractional only version of the mixed number that we put in there. The next thing we're going to do is we are going to add. We're going to say 2 1/2 plus 5 1/3. So now you know how to put this type of number in there. It's so easy now. You could probably do anything from this moment on your calculator that you needed to, but I'll show you how to do it. 2 1/2 plus 5 1/3. So here we go. 2 fraction line 1 fraction line 2. That's 2 1/2 plus 5 1/3. So 5 fraction line 1 fraction line 3. 2 1/2 plus 5 1/3. And if you notice on my screen it didn't have room for everything, it kind of cut off, but see that little arrow there? It's saying, hey, there's more to this. I could use my toggle here. If some of you have a calculator that has just a flat, it's just a circle here, it doesn't have arrows on it, but it's still your toggle. Left, right, I could go back and say, did I type everything in the way I wanted? Did I need to correct anything? So if I messed up something, I don't have to redo the whole problem. I can use this delete button if I wanted to. And then I could hit second and then insert and put in there what I wanted to if I needed to. But anyway, I got it all in good, so I'm just gonna hit enter. It already found the common denominator. It already simplified it. It did everything I needed to. All I had to do is put the problem in, and the answer is 7 5/6. Here we can do a multiplication problem, and now you're really aware of how to put that in, so practice it yourself here. You can pause the video if you want to, but we're going to go in here and we're going to do 8/9, 8 fraction line 9, times 3 5/8, 3 fraction line 5 fraction line 8. Double check I put it in right. Yep, and just hit enter, and boom, it's 3 2/9 is the answer. Already simplified as far as we need to go. And again, division, we have rules where you have to turn it into fraction form, and then you have to flip the second one, blah, blah. You don't have to worry about any of that. You can put that all in the calculator just as you see it. So 4 7/10 divided by 2 1/4. There it is. Look how the division symbol is a fraction line, because fractions are division. That's really what they are. So so I'm just going to hit enter, and there it is. It did all of that work, and it's 2 4/45. The last thing I'm going to show you is how to change from fraction to decimal or back and forth. Okay, so let's say you start with this fraction, 3 4/21, and you want to know what the decimal of that is. And so that's what this PRB button above it is saying. How do you go from fraction to decimal or decimal to fraction? And so if I put in my fraction, 3 4/21, so let's see here, 3 4/21. Okay, now I've got it in there. I can now hit second PRB, and it's going to say, hey, do you want to change that from fraction to decimal or vice versa? And I'm like, yeah, so I'm going to hit enter. And there's the decimal that means the same thing. If I want to change it back to the fraction, all I have to do is do that same thing again. Second PRB and enter. And there it turned it right back in. So I can put in a decimal. I can say 5.24, okay? And I can say, hey, give me the fraction that's the same as that. So I hit second and then my PRB, because it's asking, that fraction to decimal, decimal to fraction. And then just hit enter, and that's the same as 5 6/25. Interestingly, fractions and decimals, the whole number is always the same. It's just the fraction part that we turn into the decimal. So this had 5 is a whole number here, and so did this. So it's really just saying 24 hundredths is the same as 6/25. Now, that's the main stuff with using your calculator for fractions and decimals. I do want to just point out a few little extra things here. The subtraction symbol is not your negative symbol. It's down here on this particular calculator. And then if you need to put an exponent in, like 5 to the 3rd power, that's this little caret arrow here. So I would put in like 5 with an exponent of 3, like that. And that would give me, that's my exponent. If you just want an exponent of 2, because 2 is the most common exponent, this one right here automatically puts a 2 on it if you push it. If you need to find the square root of something, like it's undoing something that's squared, if you wanted the square root of 100, for example, that's above that key in the green. So you'd hit second and then that button, and it puts that square root symbol up there. And then you can put your number in that you're supposed to find the square root of and hit enter, and it will tell you the answer is 10. And then also, if you have a problem that has parentheses, there's a lot of things that we can just put directly into the calculator. If it shows parentheses, you have parentheses right here that you type in with it. I'm trying to think. I think that's pretty much most of what you're going to use this semester. If you're in Math 122, you will be using these sine, cosine, tangent buttons, which we'll talk about later. But everybody else, I think we've covered anything that you would use for this semester that I'm looking for. If you're in Math 043, you will use the more than square root. You might say the 5th root or something, and we have this above this exponent key. Like if we needed to know the 5th root of something, we'd put in the root first, like if it's the 5th root of something, and then we'd hit second arrow, and so it would show that, and then we'd put whatever number that it gave us to find the 5th root of, like that. And I have no idea, that's some crazy decimal. But I think that's about it, and let me know if you have any more questions.